Salam and welcome back to the second episode of recreating Glassmorphic icons. My name is WISHAH and man, I love Glassmorphic icons. Every time I see them, I feel like why aren't people using them more often? Just like before, I will be using this as a reference. It's made by this Instagram profile called Synthai Studio. I'll be using Adobe XD, which is a free software by Adobe. It's gonna be fun, so let's begin. Okay, this time we're gonna make this icon. I think it's called the chat bubble icon. So let's take the ellipse tool and let's first of all create this bubble. So I'm gonna just make a oval shape. Can make some changes later on as we progress. Let's get rid of the border and let's go to fill and let's go to linear gradient instead of solid color. So we have a gradient. Let's select this slider and click the color picker, and we're gonna pick exactly this color and select this slider and color picker and this color, and we can just change the orientation of the gradient. Okay, cool. So now let's add this pointy part. I'm gonna just right click and lock this layer so I don't move it accidentally. So let's go to pen tool and we're gonna click once and just click and drag to make it a curve, and press Alt key or Option if you are using Mac, and it will let you change the direction of the next handle that you're gonna make. It doesn't look that good, so we can do something like this. We can make it we can transform. Yeah, I think looks good. Okay, now let's get rid of the border and give it a color, maybe like any color. We can like select both of them and combine them into one shape. Go up here and click the add, and you can just double click the shape layer and it will allow you to make some changes to the combined shapes as well. A cool feature that I want in Adobe Illustrator as well. Okay, let's make the shape a bit oval. Right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna double click here and copy and click outside and paste with Control V. So, and we're gonna bring it here, and as you can see, this oval shape is kind of bigger than this shape, so I'm gonna make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, now let's select this shape and go down here and give it a background blur. So you can like see from here blur amount, so you can just decrease the amount to maybe like 20%. Bring back the opacity so like we have some color. I want to give it exactly these colors. Let's go to the gradient and let's pick the color picker and give it a, yeah, something like that. Looks good. Let's change the direction of the gradient, and we're gonna bring back some more of the opacity. Maybe let's give some more like purplish blue color. Let's make another slider over here and bring it to the right side, and we can bring back the opacity a bit. Maybe that will fix. One thing you have to keep in mind is you don't necessarily have to make it exactly like this. I'm just too obsessed with this design. It's really cool. Okay, now let's double click here and copy this guy. Copy, Control C and Control V to paste, and bring it here, and we can like flip it and just align it maybe like so. Select both of them and combine. Okay, now let's quickly create these circles. We can go back to put in some specular highlights later on. So let's go to ellipse tool, and I'm gonna just create a circle. Press shift key and alt key to keep the shape intact. Let's get rid of the border and let's bring it to center. We can just like lock the shape aspect, and we can decrease the size. We can check the size from here using the keyboard arrow keys. You can decrease the size, maybe like 50. So as you can see, it has a tiny bit of shadows, so we can copy that. Let's go to drop shadow, and you can play around with the shadow amount. You can just increase the distance and blur radius, blur amount. So let's copy this. I'm gonna just press the alt key on my keyboard and drag it to the left. That will copy it. That's like a shortcut. And drag it right side as well. It's still a bit bigger than these circles, but you can ignore that if you want, or just select all of the layers and you can decrease the radius. This is another very cool feature of Adobe XD. So you can just click here and decrease the sizes of the circles. Okay, now it's time to put those highlights, and the best way to do that I found was by using a pen tool. So let's take the pen tool and let's go here, and I'm gonna just make a shape around like so, and now let's go ahead and select the select tool and click away, and let's select and go down here and get rid of the border again and give it a fill. Maybe I want to just go down here and give it a object blur. So as you can see, we are sort of replicating that glossy specular highlight sort of thing. So we can decrease the amount to maybe like 2, and you can go here and double click. You can make some adjustments if you want, like so. I guess this answers the question that why don't people use Glassmorphic icons on their apps and all. I guess because it's not very practical. We can give the blur amount like 1.5, and you can decrease the opacity if you want. You don't need much. Now all we have to do is copy this like, and just adjust everything according to this shape. Very simple. So you can see that it's like interfering with this chat bubble. So you can select both of them and right click and send to back, and the same thing over here as well. You can make a shape and something like this, make it into a filled white shape, and just give it an object blur, and maybe like decrease the blur amount to maybe like 1, and decrease the opacity. So let's take the ellipse tool and make a shape just like that. Get rid of the border and give it a fill, maybe like this color. Right click, center back, and let's go to object blur, and we can increase the object blur amount and decrease the opacity.
The more I get to know, the more I learn to live. Wish that I can be somebody that can live just like you did. And now that I know, my life's been such a bliss.